It's time!
49ers, they got Debo back, man. Him and McCaffrey are going to be on the field at the same time. I'm really interested to see how that's going to go. How much will that affect the running backs, the backup running backs? We'll see. And we got the Chargers, injury-riddled, no wide receivers really to throw to. This might be an ugly game, man. Ellie, how are you? What's going on with you, man? I heard it's snowing over there.
Yeah, man, it's been snowing pretty good. We were supposed to get an inch, ended up with 5. So I don't know. I guess that's pleasing to some people. So, yeah, dude, I had a little bit of fun gambling on UFC last night. Was happy to break even. So, other than that, I'm just excited for this game, I guess.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. 49ers are favored by 7.5 at home. Ownership heavily skewed towards the 49ers. Look, the Chargers are injured. They, no Keenan Allen, no Mike Williams. They got a lot of issues. Do you think this is? I mean, look, I know that they've underachieved this year, but we know what they're capable of. Any chance that the Chargers can come out and surprise some people on national television?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think it kind of comes down to how healthy Justin Herbert is. I know he had that injury a couple weeks ago, and they really just haven't looked the same. When they've been missing some of their offensive players, they've generally been fine as long as he's been healthy. But I don't know, man. I think it's going to come down to whether or not he's able to throw the football well. We know he can, so if he can keep them in the game, I do see that there's a route to an upset here.
49ers coming off of a bye. Debo's healthy now. We got guys like Eli Mitchell coming back. He's $200. You got guys like Tevin Coleman who are $200. Basically, all the backup running backs to CMC are cheap, and we're going to want to look at them. But we've talked about this in another San Francisco show before they got CMC, and I think that was a show where Tevin Coleman was like $200 or something. And we were like hyped on playing some of these backup running backs, and they barely saw the field. It was just Debo. Debo is the backup running back, basically. So I don't know how it's going to be now with CMC, if they're going to embrace their backup running back and let Debo play more wide receiver. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think anything weird could happen in this game, especially having CMC and Debo. I mean, we could get a Debo passing touchdown to Christian McCaffrey. It could totally happen. What else jumps out to you here, man? 45.5 total. I don't know, man. Where are you going to go with your builds here? You're going to have to go 4-2 San Francisco, or are you trying to get different?
No, man, this might be an interesting slate to go a little bit heavier on the Chargers side of the ball. We know where the ownership's going to be, and if San Francisco continues to be favored, and LA, they've been kind of sliding a little bit, so I don't know if people necessarily believe in them. Justin Herbert, if they're going to keep this game close, it's going to be Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, and probably one of these pass catchers, man. So they're priced nicely, especially with Williams out too. So I like getting a little bit of exposure to the Chargers, and it looks like people are leaning closer to the San Francisco side.
Yeah, big time. Let's get into our injuries.
Yeah, just pain. It was pain everywhere.
All right, so obviously Mike Williams out, Keenan Allen out. He's been, Keenan Allen has been pretty much out for most of the season at this point, sprinkled in throughout. Josh Kelly out, Parham out, Jalen Guyton out. So this wide receiver core is absolutely devastated. You basically have Josh Palmer, Michael Bandy, and DeAndre Carter, and then of course, you obviously have Gerald Everett. It's really concentrated, man. Like, we might only need to spread between 3 guys or 4 guys at max on this Charger team, and then sprinkle in some other bullets throughout. But what do we do here with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams? I mean, you got to think that Josh Palmer at 7,800 is a great option.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Again, it looks like the pricing was expecting Williams to kind of be potentially available, so I think we're going to have a little bit of a discount on some of these wide receivers here. Again, we're just going to, on a show or a slate like this, I think everything is just so concentrated, and we have a pretty good idea where the ball is going. We're going to have to build and kind of just see where we end up.
Yeah, let's just get right into it, man. There's a lot that can happen on this particular slate. Let's just jump right into this breakdown.
Break it down.
All right, so Jimmy G is 9,800. He's actually projected higher than Justin Herbert, which I didn't think I'd ever see the day that happens. But hey, Justin Herbert is not having a great, that great of a year. He's having a disappointing down year. We know what he's capable of. I mean, coming into the year, he was an MVP candidate, and now the dude's getting a median projection lower than Joey Garoppolo. So I think that there's some leverage to be had here. He's going to be lower owned than Jimmy G, and we know he has a much higher ceiling. So what do we do with both these quarterbacks? I mean, Jimmy G at 9,800, are you interested in him? It's a relatively lower price, but still kind of up there.
Yeah, man. I guess I'm moderately interested in him. I just prefer to get guys like Debo, Kittle, or Christian McCaffrey. Right? They have three kind of superstar guys that are going to soak up all the usage. You may not even need Jimmy G to get all the offense. We know Debo is RB2, so he could end up with 2 rushing touchdowns, and Christian McCaffrey could have 2 rushing touchdowns, and Jimmy G never sees one get into the end zone. So I don't know if I'm going to have much Jimmy G at all. I am going to be probably heavy on Justin Herbert. Look, man, injured or not, like he's still even when that injury happened, he threw that dime across the field and was still trying to be competitive.
Yeah,
he's a good quarterback, man. He needs his team to help him out a little bit. He shouldn't be throwing the ball 50 times a game. So if that happens, I think he's a great play, man. I'm going to have a decent amount of him, especially if I can find some other value here.
Look, in my opinion, I know we'll get into this more when we get into the running backs, but this 49er defense, they're only giving up 3.4 yards per carry on the season. That's first in the league. So their run defense is really good. And when you look at the Chargers, their run offense is just not that great. I mean, I know you have Eckler, but he gets involved in other ways. I think Justin Herbert, he's going to have to be the guy, and he might have to sling it 50 times in this game. And if you're telling me he's going to throw the ball 50 times, there's a good chance he could end up in the optimal. I'm going to be very interested in Herbert because of the game script here. I think he's going to have to pass the ball. And a guy like Eckler paired up with him is still a great option. Let's move over to running back here. Let's start off with the Chargers. So Austin Eckler is 11.2K. Up until, a few weeks into the season, he was disappointing, and then now he's absolutely going off. He's one of the best fantasy players this year. So 11.2K, man, I'm going to want to get him involved quite a bit, especially considering, hey, man, they don't got anybody to throw the damn ball to, and this guy's one of the best pass catchers out of the backfield in the league. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Pull up his recent targets. But I mean, look, he's going to get involved in the pass game too. That's the thing that we absolutely love about him. 16, 12, and 9. Like that's fucking ridiculous. Like that's like 16 is ridiculous.
That's crazy.
But like the 12 to 9, honestly, he should see a minimum of 9 to 10 targets per game. So look, get him involved. He's got 2 touchdowns, 1 touchdown, 2. Like over the past several weeks, he's had a touchdown every game. So play him, man. And I think there's some value captain options as well that will allow you to have the flexibility to pretty much lock him into your lineups. If I lose because I have too much exposure to Austin Eckler, I'm okay with it.
Totally. I agree, man, because he's going to be probably 40% owned, and he's not going to be the top 3 captain for whatever reason. So to me, I think there is a very high chance that he could be the optimal captain just because they gotta give the ball to somebody. They got to throw the ball to somebody on this team. And they're going to rely on him in the red zone. And look, Sony Michel at 4,400, Isaiah Spiller at 3K, Xander Horvath at 200. These guys are just not getting enough volume. Sony Michel is obviously a threat to vulture one from Eckler. But at 4,400, I mean, this guy should be 1,000. Isaiah Spiller should be, 1,400 or something. Spiller is technically, I think, the number 2 when it comes to snap rate, but all of these guys are equally bad. The only guy that I would consider as far as backups goes is Horvath, because I think he had a touchdown. Did he have a touchdown? Yes, he did. He had a touchdown week 1, and week 1. Wow, wait, does that say 44? Oh, okay. This is value. Okay, my bad. Anyways, I was going to have to change my opinion on that. He's $200. So like we say a lot, I mean, if you get a 0 out of Horvath, you're not necessarily screwed at $200. You're probably not going to win first place, but you could at least min cash. Sony Michel at 4,400, you're going to need like 8, 9, 10 plus fantasy points out of him to really be involved. Austin Eckler to me is my favorite play on the slate. I know that we got McCaffrey, but I think people are gonna, Austin Eckler is a little bit cheaper than McCaffrey, and putting him at captain, I think you get a lot of leverage. Let's go to the other side here. San Francisco, Christian McCaffrey, 11.6K. Ellie, talk to me about all these running backs. This is San Francisco. I know in the opening we talked about, some of these backup running backs just have not really done well lately because of Debo getting involved. But Eli Mitchell at 200 is coming back. This is one of the top running backs specifically for fantasy coming into the season. And if it wasn't for an injury, maybe Christian McCaffrey's not even on this team. Anyways, my point here is Eli Mitchell is a number one running back. Are they going to get him involved? Are they going to rush him back? They are off a bye. So what do we do here, man? $200 for Eli Mitchell. I kind of want a lot of him.
Yeah, man. So obviously play Christian McCaffrey if you can. I think the one thing that we haven't necessarily seen as much that we will start to see is him getting consistently involved in the pass game. I know 9 targets was big last week, but let's see that with Debo back and see kind of how the offense splits. The other interesting thing about it is it looks like the Niners are passing at like 66% rate, which seems unbearably high for the Niners. But I think McCaffrey is going to see a boost there. So I'm with you. Like, I don't think you need to play Christian McCaffrey at the captain, but I think that there's enough value on this slate with a guy like Eli Mitchell that you might be able to play Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, George Kittle, Debo Samuel, all in the same lineup together. So I'm here, man. I'm going to be playing Eli Mitchell at $200. These other guys, Tevin Coleman, Kyle Juszczyk, and Tyrion Lannister, Davis Price. I'm probably not going to have much of them. I don't mind Kyle J, just because he can get one of those random bullshit touchdowns. But other than that, I think they kind of got their core offense back, their pieces healthy, and everything's going to be concentrated. We're looking at a guy that can see some potential time as probably RB3 at Eli Mitchell. And if he's on the field for 2 or 3 snaps and gets 1.1 points, I can live with it at $200.
Yeah, and I kind of buried the lead here. The Chargers are giving up 5.7 yards per carry in the season, which is last. So you have the 49ers giving up the least amount of yards per carry on the season, and the Chargers giving up the worst amount. That seems pretty obvious to me that you got to get these guys on the running back side involved for the 49ers, and I think they're all in play. I mean, obviously, Christian McCaffrey is an incredible play. CMC, to me, it reminds you of Cooper Kupp. It's like the question isn't whether or not you play him, it's whether or not you play him at the captain spot. And if you get him in this 20-point range, 25-point range in a game like this, I think that you can have him in the flex and you're not going to be screwed at the captain spot. You get him with a 40-point game, you're going to absolutely need him. So for me, I say, smaller contests. If you're doing a large entry single entry, you might want to think about CMC at captain. Don't get too crazy because most likely he's going to be the optimal captain. We just got to kind of get lucky, and maybe one of these other mid-range guys might end up having a great game. Wide receivers here for the 49ers. So Debo's back. He's 8,800. You're talking about Debo Samuel. I mean, this guy's always like 11K. He's like always one of the most expensive guys on Showdown Slate. I get it. He's coming back from an injury, but I mean, come on. He's had a week, an additional week to get healthy, to get acclimated with any new offense that they've created with CMC now there. 8,800. I might have 1,000,000% him, and I might have a lot of him at captain too. That allows you to really fit all those guys you want in the flex. So talk to me about Debo here, and then let's talk about the rest of these guys.
Yeah, man. Look, Debo Samuel. I mean, he's wide receiver 1A. Him and Brandon Ayuk, they're getting very, very similar targets. I think 22% each. But the one thing that Debo gives us is that rushing upside. Man, he's going to get some attempts. He's the number 2 running back at this point, I think. And even if he's just lining up in the backfield to get opportunities out in the flat or as a wide receiver screen, that's exactly where we want Debo Samuel. He's too cheap. I fully anticipate on having an unhealthy exposure. And this is kind of why I'm just probably not going to end up with a bunch of Jimmy G, right? Because I want Justin Herbert, I want Austin Eckler, and I want Kittle, I want Debo, and I want Christian McCaffrey. And I think you can get enough out of that to be okay without Jimmy G. And to be fair, I think the same goes for Brandon Ayuk. He is their true wide receiver one. I call him 1B, I guess, however you want to invert those letters. But at 8,200, I think he's also a great captain option. He's going to see a consistent amount of targets, unless for whatever reason this ends up into a Shanahan run fest, which we kind of talked about already. We already want Christian McCaffrey and probably another running back if they're cheap. So, but look, man, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, these are the two guys that I'm going to have for wide receiver from the San Francisco 49ers. But outside of that, we're just not going to see a lot of volume going to any of these other guys, really, right?
Yeah, I don't see it. And also, look, if you look at week 8 without Deebo, 6 targets, 6 receptions, 81 yards. But the few weeks before with Deebo, he's still getting the targets. So I think people are going to kind of forget about him to a certain extent, mainly because we just don't have the salary. There's so many guys that I want to get. He might be the guy that kind of like slips through the cracks. And I think he's going to be like 20 to 25% owned. Him at captain's a great option. I really like Ayuk. I think a captain is an incredible option. Juwan Jennings, $600. He's coming back from an injury, I believe. He's going to be cheap. Ray McLeod, Willie Snead. I don't even know if he'll be active. Juwan Jennings at 600 is interesting. Number 3 wide receiver, going to get some targets potentially. We've seen him have some decent games. But like you said, all the volume's going to like a handful of guys on this offense. So Juwan Jennings just might not even see targets, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's about 10% on the season. Again, like this is all in flux though, because we're going to start seeing what Shanahan intended to do with this offense now that he has Christian McCaffrey, right? It's only been a couple weeks. So I think we're going to start to see some change. And, $600 is the only reason I'll be interested in playing him, right? Again, that's just a decent price. If he ends up with a 0, that is not going to completely fuck your lineups. But I'm not going to go into it with any high expectations because, you added a guy who can dominate the ball for 90% of the game in Christian McCaffrey. So I just, I want to be hesitant about getting too much here.
One thing to mention here too is you could potentially get 4 or 5 touchdowns out of this team and had no passing touchdowns from the 49ers. And I'm not just saying hand the ball off. You're talking about like Brandon Ayuk, jet sweeps, weird plays from these guys. And that's why, Jimmy G to me is not as appealing because there's so many ways that they can score touchdowns. Direct snaps to Deebo in the red zone, direct snaps to McCaffrey for a touchdown pass. Like getting those opportunities taken away does not really bode well when you're 9,800 and you're as high owned as you are on this slate. All right, so let's go to the Chargers side here. So I guess I should probably open this up here. Palmer, 7,800. He's clearly the number 1 option. Michael Bandy, 2,400. DeAndre Carter, 5,400. Do you see anybody else in your player pool that even has a projection? These are the only 3 guys I see have projections. What about you?
They have Jason Moore and Keelan Doss over here, but the projection is still less than 1 point. I think it was just to have 5 wide receivers listed. I think it's a very similar situation, right? Except that the depth is more lacking over here. The ball's going to go to Palmer and Carter and then Bandy, and that's pretty much how the targets get sprinkled out with this team.
Yeah.
And again, it feels like everything is still priced where they were expecting potentially Mike Williams to play. So, 7,800 Josh Palmer, I think he's an excellent captain play.
Yep.
He's going to give you, I mean, if LA stays in this game, it's going to be because, one of these guys has a big game, right? If Justin Herbert throws the ball 51 times and has 34 completions, like, sure, give Austin Eckler 10 of them. That's still, 24 completions we have to spread out between, 3 and then 4 guys if you add in Gerald Everett, which we will. So, look, I think it's probably necessary to have 1 pass catcher from the Chargers in your lineups. That's kind of the approach that I'm going to be taking. And then Michael Bandy at 2,400. I don't know, man. That's kind of interesting. I don't mind him at all. I think he can absolutely see some ball. I mean, 8 targets last week. That's crazy. Like, I've never heard of that dude.
Yeah, exactly. DeAndre Carter is interesting to me because he is one of these guys that can do a lot of things in the return game. They could, trick plays with him. He's 5,400. He's probably the second, I'd say the third option probably to Gerald Everett. All these guys are in play, man. I love Josh Palmer at 7,800. He should be a lot higher owned than he is. But like I said, in that 8K range, you just might not be able to pay up for these sort of mid range or higher price guys like you want to, because you got 4 dudes you want to get in every lineup. All right, so tight ends. Yep, that's right. Okay, sorry. Tight ends: Gerald Everett 6,200, Trey McKitty 200, Richard Rodgers 200. I believe Donald Parham's still out. Yes, he is. Gerald Everett here is a wide receiver. He's basically Anquan Bolden playing tight end. 6,200. You gotta like him, right?
Yeah, I like Gerald Everett. He's getting he is at this point the number 2 wide receiver. There's nobody else left in the squad. He's going to get a consistent amount of targets, 7, 9, 8. He had a touchdown into any of those numbers, and those are pretty solid fantasy performances. Given his pricing, I think he's a solid captain option. I think he's a solid flex play. He's going to give you a little bit of flexibility to get some of the guys that we want to pay for.
Yeah,
and then not to get too crazy, but
go ahead, bro.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say Trey McKitty. If he's active, mostly because I like his name, but no, he actually will get some involvement on the offense. So $200 again. Like, these aren't guys I'm opposed to playing.
So if I'm making rules, which I probably will be, I want to have a minimum of 1 between Palmer, Bandy, Carter, and Everett. That's my opinion on it. It might be a little risky, but you're talking about a team that's going to throw the ball probably 50 times and be losing in the fourth quarter. So garbage points still count. And, they got to, if they're driving down the field with, a couple minutes left in the game, well, you might get that 2 or 3 receptions you might need to move you up into first place. All right, let's go to the San Francisco side here. George Kittle, 7,400. Ross Dwelly, 1K. George Kittle, play him. He's kind of back into old form. He, obviously missed some games this year. Took him a little bit of time. You still have Jimmy G throwing you the football. He can't get involved in other ways like Debo can. And, 10 targets, 9 targets, 5 targets. 7,400, he's a good captain option. Man, every single dude on this 49ers team is a very interesting play, and they're priced pretty well. What do you think about Kittle today?
Yeah, I like George Kittle a lot. Spoiler alert, I will be playing a decent amount of him. I think you can play him at captain, and I think you can play him at flex. He's just priced nicely, right? I think there's a lot of ambiguity priced into some of the offensive production you're going to get from these guys because of CMC, right? He had, 3 touchdowns or whatever. So we want to see how that's going to soften this offense out. But look, teams are going to adjust to slow down Christian McCaffrey, and as soon as they do that, they put an extra guy in the box. And George Kittle's going to take the top off of them. Like, they're not going to be able to cover. You got a bunch of safeties trying to tackle him in the open field. That's fucked up, man. Play George Kittle. Yeah. I don't care about Ross Dwelly, by the way.
There's too much other value to want to care about some of these other guys. The running backs for the 49ers value. There's value from wide receivers from the Chargers. I don't think you need to go down that low. Let's go to our kickers and defense here. Robbie Gould, 4,200. Cameron Dicker, 4K. I don't know, man. It's freaking kickers. I still wish they'd get rid of them. Any bold takes, or do you want to just move on here? They're kickers, right?
Yeah, they're kickers. As soon as we have a stance, then that'll ruin everyone's lineup. So
yeah, exactly. But I think you got to pay attention to these kickers, because we saw many weeks in a row where there was always one of these dudes in the optimal. 49ers defense, 4,800. Chargers defense, 3,400. 49ers defense is might be popular, man. Any interest in like a weird random captain lineup with them? Or are you going to focus on getting a lot of flex plays with them, or you're just not interested?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't mind them a little bit at the flex. They are a bit expensive. I think I'd be more interested in the kickers. But if it could absolutely be a game that ends in turnovers. Chargers defense is a little interesting to me. I hate to say it, but Jimmy G, you don't know what you're going to get. You could see him throw back-to-back pick sixes in an attempt to close out the game. So, just keep that in mind at 3,400. Fuck it. Throw him in the lineup if you're doing MME.
It's true. All right, let's get to our crown their ass.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
That was a weird transition. Sorry. Eckler. I'm going Eckler. I really do think that he's just a little bit cheaper than McCaffrey. He's going to be half the captain ownership, or even more than that. And I think his ceiling is so high because they just don't have as many other options on this team. Ellie Kittle, you're liking Kittle. You think he can have a breakout game? You don't necessarily need him to be the highest scoring player on the slate, right?
No, he just gives you a lot of solid relief, and I think everybody's heard my spiel on this. So, before we get into fades, then let's just take a quick pause, guys. Give us a like and a follow. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We're trying to get to 1,000 by Thanksgiving. And Tyson, what do you think about maybe throwing out a $50 DraftKings gift card to when we hit 800?
Yeah, I think we're gonna do that. Let's do when we hit 800 subscribers, we're gonna give away a $50 gift card. When we hit 900, we'll give another 50, and then I think when we hit 1,000, let's do something crazy like a couple $50 gift cards that we'll give away to our subscribers. We appreciate you guys so much. We've grown quite a bit over the last season. Thank you so much for that, and help us out with a share. If you got any friends that need some DFS help, hey man, we appreciate that. Let's get into our fade.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Diddly Poo, Jimmy G. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I think I did great foreshadowing all show. I just prefer other dudes. I mean, 9,800 is expensive for him when I can get Kittle and Christian McCaffrey and then punt somewhere else.
You say you prefer dudes?
Yeah, I guess in Showdown I do. Huh?
All right, let's get into our.
That was terrible, guys.
Let's get into our lineup build. Let's click the button and see what it wants to do for us. CMC at captain, big surprise. Eli Mitchell, $200. He's in there. Bandy, Debo, Garoppolo, Eckler. So let's build our own CMC lineup that we think isn't going to be heavily duped because there's going to be a lot of people playing him at captain. Let's put our core in here. Let's see if we can get all these guys. Debo, Eckler, and Herbert. No chance we're going to get all these guys. I mean, I guess you could. You could punt twice, or you could do Eli Mitchell here, and then you got $1,800 left. That gets you Tyrion Lannister. That gets you Ray McLeod, Juwan Jennings. It gets you a bunch of other dudes. So I don't know if you necessarily want to do that. I don't hate this. Here, let me click save. Juwan Jennings would be in this lineup here. What else do you want to do? Maybe we got to pull out either Herbert or Debo out of this and go more balanced, right?
Yeah, pull out Debo and just go down to Kittle. And then let's leave Herbert and Eckler. Okay. I still don't think we need to get too crazy here. And then throw in Eli Mitchell again.
3,200. What does that get us? Isaiah Spiller, I'm not super interested. Or you can go with Bandy.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
I like
what is
that.
It's a 3-3?
It's a 3-3.
So, the 3-3 might be a little bit more chalky, but I think the 4-2s with McCaffrey might be the way to go. Or it might be what the field is going to be doing. But I like that. Let's go over to Eckler and see if we can get anything better. We do get a couple $100 savings with Eckler at captain. So let's put Eckler in. Let's put CMC. Let's put Debo. And let's put Justin Herbert. 2,200. It's the same exact situation we had before. We didn't really gain anything by by switching out Eckler and McCaffrey. So that's kind of interesting. If that's the case, I mean, if you really think that McCaffrey's going to have a better game, maybe just go with McCaffrey. But I like the leverage with Eckler because just my point here is most of your lineups are just going to go to McCaffrey instead because they're priced so close. So what do you want to do here? You want to just do our huge Elijah and then punt with that last spot? Who do we got?
Yeah, man. You're in the same rotation. You got TDP, you got Ray, Ross Dwelly, Juwan Jennings. Again, all fine punts there if you think that all these guys are going to play off. And just real quick to your point about the leverage here, like in addition, guys, remember we're missing Mike Williams and Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
Right. Austin Eckler is the best player on that offense right now. So it's not the same thing. Christian McCaffrey is still in a diluted offense. Yes, we know his ceiling, but you also have Debo healthy. You have George Kittle. The Chargers only have Austin Eckler, man.
Let's pull out Debo in this lineup here. Let's put in I want to put in Palmer. I think people are going to be sleeping on Palmer. That leaves us with 3,200. I see it just you all kind of end up with with similar lineups just switching out, one player basically. If you go with Eli Mitchell or any of these other cheap guys, leaves you with 3K. Spiller, Bandy, this gets you Bandy. I don't know that I would do both of them, but hey, you have a team that's going to pass the ball quite a bit. You got the quarterback and you got all the pass catchers. Minus Gerald Everett, obviously. But all right, anything else you want to do here with Eckler?
No, I think I'm good, man.
All right, who do you want to build with next? Kittle?
Yeah, let's do Kittle.
Let's just see how much. The one thing that worries me about Kittle is just I don't know that he has the volume yet in this offense. But you don't need a whole lot for him. Let's see if it's worth it with the salary. If we can get a bunch of other guys, so let's get our group of guys in here: McCaffrey, Eckler, Debo. So we can't get a quarterback, so we'd have to choose between Eckler or Debo probably. What do you want to do here? You want to pull one of these guys out and kind of go middle range, or what do we do with Kittle here? There's a lot of options.
Can we pull out Debo and go Herbert?
Okay. 5,500.
Go ahead and throw in. Let's see. I mean, DeAndre Carter, right? We should be able to get him. No, that's 5,400. It's still not that much left over.
You want to? What can we get at 5,300 with Mitchell in?
49ers D. Sonny Michel, Robbie Gould.
Yeah, that just doesn't really. I mean, you could throw a kicker in here, obviously. You could throw both or either kicker. Just not really. I don't like that much. I don't know. I guess you're not really punting at all if you threw the kicker in there. No pun intended. But,
yeah.
You know, I don't know.
What about this might be a little crazy, but what about swapping McCaffrey for Debo?
Let's try it. Debo, 8,100 with Eli Mitchell on that other spot. That gets you Josh Palmer.
Yeah.
That's risky as hell. Obviously, literally, no one will have this lineup, but it doesn't make it a good lineup. But it's different, at least, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be hard pressed to play McCaffrey, Eckler, and then one of the quarterbacks.
Yeah,
I guess you can take out Herbert and go Jimmy G if you want, but I think that's the easy way to do it. Would that let you go if you go from Herbert down
to Jimmy G
and then pull out? Yeah, we'll probably have to pull out Palmer. Oh no,
8,900. So yeah, I mean, doesn't really get you much because it's basically Ayuk. So that's not bad. I mean, it's a 5-1. I mean, hey, that's not bad though. This could be a 5-1 sort of situation, or you could switch out the value of Eli Mitchell to somebody else because you got a little bit more money.
All right, one more here. Leave in Eli Mitchell, pull out Ayuk, and then move Debo up to Christian McCaffrey. I'm sorry, man.
Okay, Debo to CMC, 6,100. Not quite Gerald Everett. That would be sick. DeAndre Carter. So you have Eckler and Carter, or you can go down to the kickers potentially.
I guess that's not terrible.
I think these Kittle lineups are pretty decent. They're not bad. You have to weigh whether or not it's worth putting a suboptimal guy at captain if that salary helps out enough. Do you want to get crazy and build with like someone super low price and see if we can just fit everybody in?
Yeah. Throw in the. I don't know, man. You want to go DeAndre Carter, or do you want to go further down and go to like Michael Bandy?
Oh yes, I was hoping you'd say somebody else, but yes, let's do Bandy. And let's hit optimize and see what happens. Palmer, okay, that's interesting. Bandy. Let's build our own. Let's get Herbert. Let's get Eckler. Let's get CMC. Let's get Debo. 4,200 and a kicker. That's not bad, dude.
Hey, man.
That's not bad. 3-3, or you can do it 4-2 with Cameron Dickhead. Hey, not bad. Hey, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, man. Look, they don't have any wide receivers. Like, one of those guys has a big game. Like, tonight's a night that might be worth taking a stab like that. It's pretty efficiently priced.
Some key points to reiterate here. I do think that obviously CMC is essential. I'm going to potentially not play him at the captain spot, and for guys like Eckler, Kittle, Debo, maybe even Justin Herbert at captain this time around, since he's going to be a little bit lower owned. And what else, man? What else jumped out to you when we were building?
Yeah, I mean, like I think it looks like some of these guys are priced down a bit, but it's still efficiently priced around that number. So it's going to be a little tough to build. We got to hope that there's some inactives or something. Maybe Eli Mitchell is the only backup running back that Shanahan brings in tonight, which would be a miracle. But if that's the case, then, it might help us out.
How much faith do you have in Eli Mitchell if he's active, which he will be? How much faith do you have in him? He's $200. Do you think he can get a touchdown? Is this a weird situation where you might see him in for 3 plays? Or do you think he gets like a 30% snap volume?
Look, I mean, what does he have? He has 1 game and he had 25% of the work or something like that. So I don't think we know. I don't remember if that game was with Christian McCaffrey, but hey, man, they like him. They were supposed to have loved him last year, but he had his injuries. So look, $200. It's not even worth getting too crazy with, man. If he has 1 carry on the goal line and it results in a touchdown, I'll fight myself for not playing him.
Final score prediction.
I'm going to stick with 25 ties until it happens. I'm kidding. Let's go 21-17 LA.
Wow. Dude, that's crazy because I was thinking something similar. I'm going to say 24-17, but I'll go San Francisco. I think this game can be closer than people think. You got a superstar quarterback. That's all that matters. If he plays well, it doesn't matter who else is on the field with him. I think he's always got a shot to win. Eli Mitchell, that's my low-owned guy that's going to score, or at least I hope so. All right. We appreciate you guys. Throw us a like on the way out and subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. About 80% of our viewers are coming from those who aren't subscribed. So just help us out and click that button. We appreciate it. We'll have some more content in the NFL offseason, obviously, as well. So we're going to be doing this year round. What do you think about doing some XFL stuff, man? That would be pretty fun, right? We can start our research right now, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to pray that the league opens, but yeah, for sure, man. I'm down. XFL. I love sports.
All right, we will
Maybe
see
NBA
you
at some point.
Yeah, well, obviously NBA. That's where we're gonna make most of our money at is NBA. All right, we'll see you guys for Monday Night Football. Probably posted around 4 p.m. Eastern on Monday. We'll see you then.